Hello everybody and welcome to Garage and gameplay review for the SU-101, no the SU-100M1 rather, the 101 is the Tier 8, this is the Tier 7. The Tier 7 Russian tank destroyer, not the SU-152, which is the other line, but the SU-100M1. And it's worth noting, they are very different indeed. The SU-152 and its predecessors, it's no other way around. The ones after it, and the following tanks, there we go, tend to have a focus on alpha damage. Obviously, the 152mm chode of a derp gun on the 152, with its monstrous 700 damage, and then the ISU-152 gets the BL-10 that everybody knows, 750 damage. And a decent penetration, unlike the SU-152's version. Whereas the SU-100M1 and the SU-101 have 100mm guns. This 122 isn't necessarily good. I don't think. I don't think that's the one you're going to be using. So these guns, they tend to be quite quick. I don't know why I'm saying they tend to be. They are quite quick. 8.7 rate of fire, which isn't bad, certainly. Far from bad. Something like a 6-second reload with my gun rammer. And they're quite fast. They are indeed quite quick. The speed limit of 50 kilometers per hour. It doesn't tend to reach that too often, at least not in my experience, but I also haven't researched the second engine for it yet, or the third engine rather, because it has 3 different engines. The first upgrade is only 20 horsepower, but the second is a fairly decent upgrade of 100 horsepower. My equipment loadout is a bit skewed at the moment because I've got the enhanced suspension, because I don't want to spend my free experience on unlocking the tracks for it, but I did want to mount the gun, which I'm not sure if I even needed to. No, I think I did. I think it was very tight on the load limit. So if you wanted to unlock anything other than the suspension first, then you have to put the suspension on it. Other than that, I have vents and a gun rammer. I would have replaced that with either probably a laying drive, although maybe not a laying drive, because this tank has an insane aim speed of 1.7 anyway. So I'm not sure if that's even necessary. I'm not so sure about going with like a standard binoculars and camo build for this, because it's got a very small traverse for its gun, a very small traverse angle, so it's going to be turning a lot to fire at things, which doesn't necessarily lend itself very well to a camo net and binocular setup. Never noticed that exhaust there. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's got a weird shape, as is fairly obvious here, but it's good. It's very well angled. Its hull armor is 90 at the front on this upper plate here on the superstructure, and I actually can't remember the value for this, but it does bounce. It's very surprising, but it does in fact bounce things if given the chance. Obviously, gun depression isn't going to be the strong point when you have a rear-mounted gun like this. But I've used this tank as a scout a couple of times, and it sounds weird, but sometimes you just end up in that situation and just go with the flow, and it works quite well. So I will be showing that replay in particular, because it's quite interesting. 830 hit points is kind of low for Tier 7, but it's also a tank destroyer, so what do you expect? I think that this thing is kind of it's not, I don't necessarily think I like to play it as a very long-range sniper, even though it lends itself very well to that, with the 1.7 aim time and the 0.33 accuracy. I just don't find that it does so great in that position. Not for me, anyway. I personally prefer to stick myself not too far behind the front line. Find positions where I can use this frontal armor quite well, Because if you're right up in somebody's face, they're going to penetrate you every time, because you only have 90mm of armor at tier 7. But in the right position, this tank can do very, very well. And I'll show you some of my better games in it right now. So this is that kind of funny one that I was talking about with the accidental scouting. So I'm coming up this hill. This is where heavies like to brawl. And I'm on my own, which is very unusual. So what I'm going to do is just poke this ridgeline, not going over, bounce the Panzer IV. An IS coming straight for me. There's a Tiger over there, and an M4 Jumbo. And they've already started taking some hits. The IS is the thing that's worrying me because he's not going to stop. However, he is taking a lot of damage from his flanks. But he's going to rush me. I'm going to put one into him. And then rather than backing up and trying to turn around to fight him, I'm just going to let the people behind me do the job while I try and avoid fire. I know he's got a long reload, so... And that's a death sentence for him. Did leave me on low health, though. So there's still a Tiger, a KV-1, and the M4 Jumbo. And the KV-1 fires a heat round at me. Yeah. But there's that it can do. So now let's look at that accuracy and DPM that this tank is really supposed to be used for. So you can really see that its dispersal is just tiny all the time. It's an incredibly accurate gun. So not many people came over this side of the map, which is always worrying on Malinovka in a high-tier game, but T-29 is running on down there with a KV-3 and an M4 to get some spots over there, and we can't quite see them from over here. Me and this Hellcat. So we're going to move up here. T-29 is getting slaughtered. And then a NASA one appears. Aimed in a second. 1.7 seconds to be exact. And get another into him before he turns around. So now I've got a very little bit of this T-25's turret. And there's that bouncing I'm talking about as well. T-25 is a good gun mantlet. So I don't really want to take many shots at the front of his turret because they're just going to go into the mantlet and do nothing. So we're basically just going to rush here with this KV-3, hopefully providing a decent distraction. T-25 gets taken out by an artillery shot. Which just leaves the KV-1 behind here. And he looks to be focusing on that KV-3. Probably not for much longer. Is it a KV-3? It is a KV-3. And then I take a pretty big hit from an ELC across the map, which is actually impressive. And then, of course, someone in his E25 firing nothing but APCR, as you do in an E25. One into the Hellcat. And he just sits and lets me take another. This is one of the reasons I love DPM guns. I do really need a big alpha gun, though. Tempted to play both Russian tank destroyer lines at the same time. I'm not so sure about that. There's Mr. APCR. Only have a teeny weeny bit of him on show, as you'd expect in an E25. Then a Jackson takes a shot at me from seemingly nowhere. And this is really showing off the accuracy of this gun. There's a tiny bit of E25 on show and he managed to hit him. Just kind of rolling back and forwards here. If they do take a shot, hoping it bounces. There's E25 showing up again. And that was a pretty awful shot to take, to be honest. And he's dead. KV3 quite far over there. And there's the AMX, who I'm not going to get a bit of, unfortunately. And that's pretty much the game. That was a very good game, actually. It wasn't spectacular for me, I mean, as a team. Don't get any of that. Do I get a bit of this tiger? I don't think I do. No, I don't. How depressing. And I think now we'll move on to something a little bit more impressive. So here we are on port, and this game is the star of the show. I don't believe it's my best game, it just shows the tank quite well. So, I mean, I've had better games just sitting on a hill and shooting at people, but this one was a bit more fun. Got a couple shots off with the Hellcat already, only one hit. And we've got a Panther there. And he missed, so okay. M6 showing up. He didn't miss, and I bounced him. The IS is blocking me. And actually, hold on, I think. Yes, this is without the upgraded gun, yeah. This is actually, I think, one of the first games I played in this tank. So my aim time is a bit slower than with the upgraded gun, I think. As well as, I believe, lower penetration, maybe? Give me my mouse. No, the same penetration, okay. Lower damage, that's it. 250 damage rather than 320. And this is one of the games I played while I was visiting my parents on a fairly old iMac running a boot camp partition. So, you know, I wasn't playing with the best frame rate. Or ping, mind you. So here I decide to relocate a bit. And cross over here where we're getting kind of stomped a bit. And crash into that. I blame my frame rate. There are a lot of us doing the same. Kind of crossing across the map to provide some support over here. And this T-29 bringing his ass rather nicely into my sights. Moving forward just at the right time to have me miss. I do get him the second time though, and it looks like his engine's taken out. And set him on fire for one tick. So there's an IS and an M4 over here. The M4 moves into my sights. It's T-49 running up my ass for some reason. So I'm going to turn around and let's just see if I can get this T-20. I'm not sure I can. There he is. And the 59-16 down here. Doesn't look like he's using the autoloader gun, but I can't tell, to be honest. So I am just going to rush him and scream "fuck you" while I do it. It was the autoloader, I think, actually. Just judging by how quickly he was shooting at me there. 2,100 damage so far and 4 kills, so move across the map towards this IS. And then take a big artillery hit. Pull my track back up. Bring my gunner back to life. And slowly but surely move across the map. take one on the way. Start moving again before taking another. Lost vision of him, so I'll just fast forward across the map. Not too fast, but fast forward. So there he is, looking at someone else. Hopefully he doesn't bring his gun to bear quickly enough. Unfortunately, neither do I. So rather than doing that, nope, nothing to say. I did that, so not rather than doing that, well, I just did that. I know that I have a faster rate of fire than him by quite a fair margin. So if I can, and I ricochet. And so did he. See, that's what I'm talking about. That fucking armor. And I think what it is this side armor it's actually not bad. The 75 side armor isn't awful, you know, and at the angles you're going to be having it a lot of the time, it's silly sometimes. Because people will shoot at your side when you're angled like that, thinking that it's bound to go through because you're a paper-thin tank destroyer, but 75 side armor, it's not that awful. There are worse out there. There are worse on heavies. Especially of this tier, you know. The Centurion has some pretty paper-thin side armor. And just to finish things off, I picked the lucky straw. And just happened to look behind the correct building for this little fucker. And boom. Boop. 3,131 damage. Didn't quite manage a top gun because somebody else killed that IS, but oh well. I'm not one for rewards anyway. That's the SU-100M1. I'm worried that the SU-101 at tier 8, because it has the same gun, or at least very similar gun, I'm worried that it'll be underwhelming there. But it has the accuracy to aim for weak spots, so we'll see. Won't we now? Yes, we will. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, consider liking the video and maybe subscribe to see some more stuff like this, as well as silly little edit things.